Good morning. It is 10:36 a.m. Sorry, I'm running a bit late this morning, but it is Sunday, and that means it is time for Sunday Club, a weekly Ruby on Rails live stream where each week we do some Ruby on Rails coding and we work on an application together and do all of the fun stuff associated with it. And the application that we work on is an event registration and ticketing application. All right, follow-up. Not a lot of follow-up, I don't think. Thanks to people who commented on a couple of the videos. Just appreciate people sort of letting me know that they are watching. And also major follow-up. It's hot, really, really hot here in the UK today on a Sunday morning. And anyone who knows anything about the UK knows that each year we are entirely surprised that it ever gets hot here and are not in any way equipped for it. In a lovely way, we're also equally surprised when it snows in winter, so we don't make any preparation for that either. So that's also a fun quirk of living here. All right, let's dive into it. I mentioned that because if you see me actively perspiring on the stream, that's why. We're just going to dive right into it. All right, what are we diving into? Emails. We're diving into emails. This is MailJet, and I am resetting my password because I totally didn't set it up properly in 1Password last week. We're adding emails to our app. So in our Notion sort of semi kind of like board that we're sort of sticking to vaguely, we had a little card here that was send a confirmation email to user on successful order. So in last week's stream, which is available on the YouTube archive, so just Google Sunday Club, SUNDAE Club, you can look at the archive. And we ran over some stuff I think was pretty useful. I might try and kind of pull that out into its own little video, which is like considerations for an ESP, an email service provider, that you might want to think about when you're choosing which one to use based on your size, the scale, the number of emails that you're sending your engineering team, what you're looking to accomplish with it. It's a pretty cursory list, but we just popped a couple of things in here. Pricing, deliverability, custom IPs, support, reporting and dashboards, force tracking and headers, API. And then we looked at a couple of other tools, Google Postmaster tools, MSNDS. And within Rails, we looked at delivery methods and interceptors, which I think we're going to hopefully touch on today a little bit. So I was casting around because we only work on this app, a couple of hours a week. So I sort of didn't really want to pay for any emails. So we looked at a lot of the email providers, and those that used to provide a free tier, which used to be years ago very generous. I think Mandrill was like 5,000, 10,000 a month for free. Very few of them seem to do that anymore. And we've got one, MailJet, who are still providing that. It is capped at a daily rate, but we're just doing a kind of toy application at this point. And if you ever wanted to scale it up, we could either pay here or pay or switch to one of the other providers. And again, that's one of the other considerations that should really go into here, which is like lock-in, I guess. Although email service providers, if you're not using their tracking software, you can potentially sort of get out of too much lock-in because they're just sending you emails. The more you use their features beyond just, hey, here's an email, please send it, the more lock-in risk becomes. All right, so we want to get this up and running. So let's dive in. So I'm actually signed into MailJet on my other screen because I wanted to look at getting those credentials into the app, but sort of without putting them on the stream. And so what I was actually Googling was, sorry, I'm just trying to find the SMTP credentials because here we go. Send your first email. So I want to get some credentials and okay, great. So we looked last week a little bit at this idea of SMTP versus versus an API integration. And it doesn't have to be versus. You could potentially do use SMTP credentials for different environments and then use the API for production. You could, well, you can do what you want, but what are the pros and cons? So the big version, the big helper for SMTP credentials is that you can just get out the gate really quickly. So in config, do we have a mail by default? It might just be in here. Is mailer in here? Yes, default URL options. Is that what we use to set them? I can't remember. Let's go check. Do Rails set SMTP credentials. Quick start guide to SMTP settings in Rails 6 environments. Okay, so I'm just checking to make sure. Okay, cool. Sorry, I was just checking something on the stream. Okay, so encrypting credentials. So that's actually what I was looking into. I actually haven't used encrypted credentials in Rails yet, so that's something we can learn about as well. And let's look at, so it's SMTP settings, and then these are the fields. So we could just pass a hash through with a bunch of stuff. Now Mailjet might actually have in their docs, sometimes they sort of give you like a preset thing. The documentation for sending emails. Just bump the font size up a bit. Like they'll have like language specific things or framework specific things. I mean, it's only some SMTP credentials, so it's not the end of the world. Okay, so let's take a look at how we're going to store these super secretly. Rails.application.credentials.smtp and then SMTP username. So presumably this is entered somewhere in Rails. I have read this a long time ago when they came out, but I haven't used them, so I'm kind of starting from scratch. So we've got this Rails application credentials. These are presumably namespaced, or there's something that indicates these are SMTP credentials, and then this, I'm assuming, is a name that we give the credential. So let's see what this guide is. So this allows us to store passwords and API keys by using an encrypted YAML file. And so I've used .env before, and a couple of other mechanisms like homegrown mechanisms, which required the sort of engineer to have access to like another mechanism to get those API keys. Whereas my understanding is that you set this up, and then anyone who pulls the repo sort of automatically has everything they need. And obviously you can then like hide production things as environment variables and stuff like that. But your development environment, they could have what they needed, I think. Not sure. Okay, so we want to Rails credentials edit. So secret key base. Is the secret key base for this, for Rails credentials, different from the secret key base for the whole application? I can't remember where's the secret key base in here. So hot. There's one for devise there. Okay, should we just run? Actually, let's look at the actual proper docs as well, which I have open here. So we're deviating slightly from just getting emails set up to look into encrypted credentials, but that's fine. I think these are all related. Ish. I'm looking for... Rails store secrets in config credentials YAML.enc. So do I have one of those? Config credential. Yeah, here we go. Oh, okay. So secret keybase is already in there. Okay. To edit the credentials file, run bin rails credentials edit. The command will create the credentials file if it does not exist. Additionally, this command will create config master.key if no master key is defined. Do I have a master key? No. Okay. Secrets kept in credentials files are via Rails application credentials, for example, with the following decrypted config credentials. Secret keybase, MAPI key, blah, blah, blah. If you want an exception to be raised when some key is blank, you can use the bang version. Keep your master key safe. Do not commit your master key. Okay, so can I just take this off this screen then? Put it on the non... So I've taken the terminal onto my other monitor so I can run... Well, I don't think it matters here because... Oh no, that's not the one I'm doing. This one. Okay, so when I edit these credentials, I'm on my other screen. So presumably this is going to generate... No editor open file and assign one like this. Editor mate. I don't really want to use code because... It'll pop up on this other screen. Bear with me, I'm just... Okay. So this is all off screen. I'm gonna have to read this out. So, but you can do the same thing. You're probably, if you're on Rails 6, you can do the same command and see what happens. So I just haven't done this yet, so I've got a bunch of setup. Right. Adding config master key to store the encryption key, blah, blah. Okay, so I now save this password manager, your team, save this in password manager, team can access. Okay, so I want to then go to 1Password. Again, I'm doing this off screen. Okay, so I'm putting it in 1Password. Everyone is happy. It is saved. Great, now I have access to that. If you lose the key, no one, including you, can access anything encrypted with it. Cool, cool, cool. That sounds terrifying. Couldn't decrypt config credentials YAML. Perhaps you passed the wrong key. Okay, so do I have to pass the key? How do I pass the key in? Couldn't decrypt, perhaps you passed the wrong key. Okay. Okay, so... So I have master.key. Oh, okay, so that's the one I'm not supposed to show on the screen. Okay, great. So, right, now I have to change that fucking key. Okay, so destroy that. Delete that. Cool. Okay, great. So now I need to, what I really need is I've got to try and work out how to do some of this stuff on the stream. I need to work out what I think would be really cool is an extension for VS Code that you pass a list of file paths to, and it won't open them, or it'll like do something to them. I'm assuming that's very doable because all these extensions do some crazy stuff. But okay, let's do that again then. Right, so it's going to generate a different key this time. Great, new key. So don't open that stupid file. Because you just hide it from VS Code is probably the safest thing. Actually, that makes way more sense. Okay, so then I have to update my entry and 1Password. Cool. So I'm going to do that. This is all off screen. So change that. Great, new key. Okay, excellent. So then it says perhaps you passed the wrong key, but I don't know. Okay. Okay, so perhaps you passed in the wrong key. Is it the editor that's wrong? Let's try and open it in Vim. Perhaps you passed the wrong key. I'm just Googling the error I'm getting. You're missing the master.key. When you create a new project, Rails will set up blah, blah, blah. Also be automatic to get ignored if you delete the local project, including your master key. But I now do have master.key because I've added it. And yet... Oh, do I have to delete this then? And build this from scratch? Sorry, I'm probably... Rails will set up the credentials and a matching master.key file to access the credentials. There wasn't a master.key in there, and I don't remember... Oh, I see what must have happened. Okay. So it must have added it on setting up Rails, and then I never knew what to look for, but it was in git ignore. Have I then done like a git reset or something and just been like, yeah, get rid of everything? No, because it would be in the git ignore. I don't remember deleting it. Setting up a new credentials yml.enc. Okay, great. So if I delete this and then run the same command again, I'm doing this off screen. Will it build that file again? Yes. Okay, fine. So it has created a new secret key base. Okay, fine. And so when we were looking at the code earlier in that article, which one? This one, Rails application credentials SMTP. This is presumably the YAML just being SMTP : So we can say, well, let's just do a test version here. So can I open a new, tab in item and bring it back up here? Cool. Okay, so that's a blank one, and then I'm doing editing the other one. So this is just I just call it test, and then a string called this is test. Cool. Okay, file encrypted and saved. So now if I do bin Rails console. Then we can do Rails dot something, application credentials, SMTP, because that's the, and then what did I call it, test? So I should get this is test back. Amazing. Okay, great. So that all makes a lot of sense. So now off screen, I can edit the credentials file again. But I also have the browser that has my API keys in it. So now I can do, what did they put? SMTP username. SMTP username. Okay, I've used Vim in case that was wrong, but I never remember anything in Vim. So I want, I should need to check. I guess I don't need to call it SMTP username, right? Like I could call it, I could actually namespace it the ESP provider name and sort of make it clear in here that actually the username I'm using is, like, this could be Mailjet API key and Mailjet secret key, and make it clear that that, like, it does, like, this doesn't help indicate what the SMTP username is or where it's come from. So in fact, that namespacing is probably not the most helpful. So in here, we could call it oh, actually, yeah, the namespace for it could be Mailjet, and then it could be API key. And then paste that in. Bear with me, this is all off of the screen. And then secret key. I don't think there's any way I'm going to sort of be guaranteed to keep these off the stream. So luckily none of these services have any of my payment details or anything in them. At least I don't think I had to put them in Mailjet. But sort of got to figure that out. Okay, so that should be it, right? So we can, great. Then in our code, we can just lift this potentially. We can go into our SMTP. We can just do it for development for now. Like in reality, we could just set this up as like using one of those gems where it just like pops the email up or catches it or something like that in a little web browser. We can just pop this in here. Is there any mailer stuff in here? Yeah, okay, cool. So we need to find out what the rest of the details are. And how does one find that out? Like, where are the SMTP deets? Okay, so this is the SMTP server. The port is 587. This is going to be Mailjet API key. This is going to be secret key. Authentication plain, I don't know. See if there's anything in that article about, I can't remember what the authentication header does. These are all set as plain. Let's see, action mailer, configuration. If your mail server requires authentication, you need to specify the authentication type here. The symbol and one of plain, login, or Chrome MD5. Okay. So I assume that plain is just like, well, we're only doing it at the server level. I don't know if it'll even appear in the logs. That's annoying. Okay. That's it. Okay, so we think we now have some SMTP credentials. Does our app still work because of breaking the that file I broke earlier, the credentials stuff? Yes. Okay, cool. So we can still sign up. Don't know if we've got any users actually. Great. Okay, so we can still sign in. That's cool. And we can still go to our admin area. Great. Okay. So ideally what we want to do now is try and send an email from our code. I wonder if there's anything else we need, because I sort of skipped over, and I haven't done that in a while, so I sort of skipped over anything else. Let's go back to our article. So, development. Yep, we're doing this. We're basically setting up this as if it was production in development. Google Workspace, we're not using that. Devise. If your Rails app uses Devise for authentication, your user mailer may be handled by a Devise mailer class. Oh, okay. Maybe. Oh, okay. So maybe we don't need to do anything. Maybe Devise will attempt to send things to us by default. Config mailer sender in the Devise RB. Please change me at config initializer devise example.com. Well, that's helpful. Okay, so let's do so this mailer hasn't been configured at all. But maybe that's actually an easy way to test this. We could just turn this on, because then trigger like a password reset or something. Are these all just default values anyway? So we turn the server off, then turn it back on. Then if we create an account locally with, I don't think I put a log out button anywhere, so you guys should just delete the cookies. Okay, so now we're not signing in. So then we can sign up with this email address. Okay, yeah, so sure, I'm not allowed to go to that admin page. Okay, fine. So do we get an email? I don't know whether we configured the mailers for Devise to send on sign in. When does Devise actually send an email? Let's try and do you get forgotten password out of the gate? You must get one on change password? No, because we ask for a current one here. Or maybe here, this is like test. Does it send an email to tell you that it's changed its, that you've changed your email address in the account? Let's see if there's anything in the logs that are telling us this has happened. Here we go. right? So it thinks emails are going, but it's using local mail. Okay, cool. So we just need to, so this will trigger emails because we can see them in the logs, all good. But we would just like to trigger, oh, and did we just not save any of these? Is that the problem? And we actually have to tell it to use these settings, right? So what's the development? Yeah, where do you actually tell it which one to use? Or is that just because I didn't hit save? Let's turn the server off and just see if that happens again. So what we're just trying to get is these, is make sure Action Mailer uses these rather than the local settings. Just, I can't remember exactly how to tell it, but I think maybe I just didn't save it. I'm still signed in, and we can do test new address 2. Let's do example.com because okay, so this time so it's still using the local mailer for this. And is that because these aren't configured? Sort of assumed. Yeah, I should have sort of come and look at this before assuming it would work. So mailers, application mailer, default from example. .com layout mailer. So we have a default application mailer. But I don't know if we have anywhere telling it to use those SMTP credentials. Okay, I'm definitely missing. Let's actually turn, let's turn those on in case they're not the default values, but we do want them. So restart the server again because it's a config change. One more time. Check the logs again. See where it's trying to send them this to. It's still sending them to local. I think we have to specify the delivery method, right? Just delivery method SMTP. Yeah, I think that's the one we're missing. Okay. So let's give this another try. Oh, let's just check where that is. That email going to the person, the new address, and then not sending an email to the old one at all. Okay, so let's do that doesn't really help. That doesn't help. So because I want to, that's the email address I will actually get it to. So let's just open a console real quick. Just change that accounts. Or we can just delete that last user, can't we? Sorry, we're just going around to test this a little bit, just a bit fiddly, but... Okay, so then if we... Again, go around in circles. Right, so we want to sign up with some random email address. And password. And this time we want to change it to our real email address so that we can access it. So we're going to go in here, change your password. And this is to test our... No, not... We're in here. We can do mail@sundayclub.co, update email address. Right. So in our logs, what do we now get? Still local. Or is that just the ID and it actually did go out? So, okay, so do we get any logs in MailJet that tell us whether it received a request? Okay, there's nothing. Got like a little stats page. They've got like a... Yeah, still nothing. Okay. Okay, maybe I just once again jumped. Maybe I just jumped through this without checking. So I think it should be calling these. And let's actually have it raise if it fails. So I'm definitely missing something here. I think that article is overly relevant. Got a mailer, blah, blah, blah. All right, so we've just changed that. We've already changed that. And we've got these set to what we think is correct. Maybe the problem is us using devise rather than just building a mail and calling .deliver on it. Does devise have any other mail config in it? Like, does devise have its own mail method? Actually, that would be pretty cool. Like, you could have a different ESP or a different ESP profile. Okay, it just seems to use action mailer, so I would assume it's just calling .deliver or deliver later or whatever. Which is kind of weird that it's not firing. Because we can see that it's trying to send the mail, but it's using local. Yeah, we'll just give this one more try, and if that doesn't work, we'll just set up an email ourselves and skip the device part of it, because then at least we'll have taken a kind of variable out of the situation. So refresh this, we should still be signed in, and then this should go to us. Do this. Aha, perfect. Right, we now have an error. Great. Relay access denied. Perfect. Why? But great that we now know what's going on. Why is it denied? What's happening? So, Rails application credentials. Right, what I'm going to do is I am going to, on the other screen, check those credentials. They're not... No, they should be there. I'm gonna... Still got that console open in terminal. Yeah, I'm just gonna pull this into the other screen. Just see what this line here gives me. Nil. Okay, they are not set. And it's a casing issue. These are not. Okay, so that is returning a value. Is there a idiom for having capitals in things? They just randomly came from that article. I don't know why they would need to be capitals. Okay. That's pretty exciting. Something looks to have happened. So it does still say layout mail local, but hopefully it has actually sent this time. So let me see if I can find the MailJet UI. That's still saying 0. Okay. Let me find the little... It had like an onboarding thing that was like, make your first API request. That's still not showing up as having worked either. So we didn't get an error implying that it was able to get where it wanted to go. I'm loading up my emails on my phone down here to see if I actually have the email. That would be pretty cool. I do not, but I also could be in my spam because we haven't configured any... No. No, although I had forgotten that the MailJet activate your account link last week did go into my spam folder, which was very funny. I need to get that out of my spam folder. Oh, spam. There we go. Doing my bit for their deliverability ratings. Okay, that's frustrating. Okay, so this thing thinks it's sent. It has the, which means it has SMTP details. Presumably it got a success response because otherwise it would have raised. But neither MailJet nor this are showing any kind of response. All right, while we're... Is there a world in which that's sort of queued at their end? Maybe. But what I think we can do is set up a mailer like normally. And so let's do... We'll do an order mailer because that's the... And we can have... Okay, cool. We can have an order mailer and the order mailer is going to be application mailer. I think it's just a case of putting a method on it for, we'll just do order confirmation for now. We'll just do something super straightforward. And then we would expect there to be a corresponding view. Oh, look. So that's all the content we saw. Shouldn't be any config in there. Okay, fine. Ooh. Okay, so I have an email from MailJet. This is live breaking news on the stream. Okay, I have to validate the sender. It's like, hey, I tried to send an email address, but I don't know who this is. So we have to tell it. Okay, great. So this is a MailJet config thing. So I think I can bring, the API key isn't on the stream anymore, so I can bring this tab up. Okay, so one contact. I think that must just be the email that we've tried to send. Still nothing in the dashboard, but how do I... Please validate the sender. You can manage your senders in the senders and domains page. So I feel like that is in account settings. Oh, okay, great. Senders and domains, add a sender domain or address. Domains, add domain. Cool, so this is just additional config. The label field is required. Okay. So we did this previously with the SES stuff last week, which means I have to remember where this is, and it's here, so bear with me, because I have to go to the DNS records for that domain. And enter this DNS record, although it did happen really quickly, which was pretty cool. There was a time many moons ago when it used to take ages to get that stuff done. It seems to be a lot quicker now. So I can go in here, manage DNS. Again, I'm doing this off screen. I want this as a CNAME record. I can actually delete all of the Amazon SES ones because I think we're not likely to use those. So I'm out to this, and then value is this. Okay, it doesn't like that for some reason. Why doesn't it like that as the value? Oh, because I've put the wrong record type, sorry. Sorry, again, I'm just doing that off screen. Okay, so that TXT record has been added. This only took like a minute or two last time, so I'm fairly happy to wait, but this should mean that would have been successful. So so it's interesting, they actually obviously returned a success response to Rails because it didn't raise. So it obviously said, yep, cool, I'll send this to the SMTP response. And then emailed me. I wonder if it will then, when you authorize, has it held that in a queue, and then when you authorize the domain, it'll send it, or has it just black holed that email? Oh, I did two setups. I did mail paste as well before I realized they weren't free. Oh, this was pretty quick last week. So we can sort of carry on with our mailer in the background. So here we can have views. Is views mailers, right? That views name of mailer class, yeah. Then we can do... you don't have to do this. I think in the config you can sort of change these. This is going to be the order mailer. And then in here we can have order confirmation. Order confirmed. Of course, this will know to look for that view because the method here has the same name as the view, in the same way that our controller actions look for a view with the same name. Let's check this now. It's definitely there, which is frustrating. It'd be cool to actually see the email work. Let me just refresh. Check this, definitely saved. Yep. Okay, cool. It was active, so it has worked. Okay, exciting. Something changed. That was a weird thing. Active. Okay, cool. So, see if my original email has been resent. But otherwise, what we should be able to do is go in to our local here. Mail. Let's see, update my email address. So in our logs, try to send that. So do I get a real email address? A real email this time? It's pretty exciting. And in here, do I see something? I wonder what the premium features are. Okay, so no email and no error. But we have got the correct sending domain, we think, now. We haven't done any auth. Oh, hang on. Oh, I've got it. Oh my god, I can't see myself. Okay. That's it. It's arrived. I don't know if that's coming through on the screen at all, but it has arrived. We have done it. We have shipped emails. Cool. That's it's not cool how much satisfaction that actually gives me, because that's a fairly basic thing for any application to do, but still the joy of having made something work. So, all right, what's next? We would probably turn SMTP off for local mail development and turn one of those gems on that does the cool thing where there's two methods that I've seen those gems use that are so super helpful for in development. There's ones where as soon as it sends the email, it like opens that email in a new tab, super helpful. But there's also the mechanism where you get like a fake UI email client in a browser tab, and it's basically, it stores those emails locally, and then it provides a little client where you can look at them. So it basically is like a pretend email account. They are both super helpful. Sadly, I actually have to go to my niece's birthday party, so I'm not going to get time to delve into those today. So we're not going to run the SMTP stuff in development. We would just run that in staging, maybe, and then production. And staging we looked at interceptors a little bit last week. Staging would be where we would maybe run the SMTP account. Maybe we'd have a sub account so that we could have a different IP pool or something like that, just so that we weren't using production IP addresses for staging emails. But we might run an interceptor on staging just to say only email to these domains, or an email to this like allow list of email addresses or something like that. And so locally we wouldn't probably do any of what we've just done to set it up, but it was really good to see it working. And so but what we do have is this new mailer and this new template. So we've got a few minutes left. Let's also get the mailer preview running, because that's one of my favorite things to do, not just in Rails, but like anything. Where's mailer previews? Previewing emails. So user mail should be located in test mailers previews. Is it in test mailers preview? Because what happens if you're using Rails mailers? By default, these preview classes live in test mailers previews. They can be lib mailer previews. Preview path. Have we set that here at all? I guess not, because ours is the vanilla one. Okay, they can live in lib if that's what the docs say to put them in. I've actually seen them in app a lot, like mailer previews in here, but lib, fair enough. Mailer previews. And we want to stick this line in our application. And so we can then have in libmailer previews, probably forgotten user mailer preview. So here we can do order mailer preview like that. And this is called order. Oh, do you know what? I've actually just got the other email. So the original one was queued. And then when I validated the sender, it's sent. So I've actually got 2 emails now. So that's pretty good. Pretty good of them. When they told the sending server that they were going to send it, they didn't lie. They being the ESP. Order confirmation, is that what I called it? Yes, order confirmation. And here, this is then order mailer, order confirmation, and we haven't done anything in that email to require links, but then we can. And here, go to this. It'll be the wrong one. But if we just do mailers, it will give us a link. I thought it would. Is that no longer? Is it because it's in lib I have to restart the server? I thought Rails mailers gives you like an index. Here we go. Yeah, so because it was in lib, you just have to restart. So then you get a little index of all of the mailer previews available. You're trying to preview an email that doesn't have any content. I thought we had added a view for this. Use mailers. Order mailer, order confirmation. Okay, so in our order mailer, order confirm. I'm just checking all of these things light up. Have I got the views path wrong? This is probably because the mail method has not been called in order mailer order confirmation. Ah. I don't. We haven't passed anything yet, so let's just configure that. Order mailer, order confirmation. Missing template, order mailer. Oh, do you have to searched in order mailer? Do you have to pass it? Rails mailers path. App mailers user mailer. And then where's the view? Create a mailer view. Create a file called in app views user mailer. Oh, I see. So it's not in a subdirectory called mailers. Can I prefix? You can now choose to sort by trending, which boosts voice stuff and more recently. Yeah, whatever. Oh, interesting. Okay, so you can this one's mailer specific, so you can put template path for that specific mailer. This one has overridden. Okay, so that one is, I'm assuming that API is pretty stable, but that's sort of tied you to that API. You should really create an application mailer class with your defaults and inherit from that in your mailers. So this is the top voted answer. This lovely pattern uses the same inheritance as controllers. So append view path append view path. Okay, and what was the other issue that someone has? Append view path doesn't handle lazy locale lookup. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't actually know if I'm that fussed about that. If the default is to have it there, then fair enough. So in here, we now have our mailer preview. So whatever we then adjust in our mailer content will appear here, and we can now send, I guess in console we could do this. Order mailer dot order confirmation. Can't spell. Order confirmation dot, can't remember the API, deliver. Oh, did I put to testexample.com? Oh, I should have put okay. Well, that okay, hasn't. Great. Okay, so this time we should have one that turns up that says. There's a bit of a lag because obviously we're waiting for the ESP to send the email, my random email client to then say, hey, I've got the email, then to show it, then for my phone to grab it. So some sort of lag. But we looked at that mail pace last week, I think it was, which was like selling themselves on the quick delivery. Also wouldn't surprise me here because we haven't set up any DKIM or any other kind of sending confirmation. So it wouldn't surprise me if we ended with stuff in our spam directory. But we do think that has sent. Go back to our mail, jet UI. Five emails this period. Okay, yeah. So that would be to testexample.com, to confirmation instructions, and hopefully the new one that we're just waiting for now. And if this works, I'm going to knock this on the head so that I can go and do fun birthday party stuff. And we can worry about actually writing the code for this next week. So we can take a look at those mailing those local mailer tools. That does take a while to arrive, which is not ideal. All right, so we now have, we looked at encrypted credentials in Rails, learned a bunch about that, which is super helpful. Gonna have to work out how to do stuff on the stream, and also how not to put any services that are attached to my credit card in there or debit card in there. And then we looked at getting the mail up and running, which worked. And this is all kind of standard getting started stuff. We're going fairly slowly on the stream because we're just doing a couple of hours a week, but this is all setup stuff that you would do within the first day of getting your app up and running, of staging. And so we've got Heroku, and we also had Scalingo as two hosts that worked for us. We've now got our ESP, so we're actually getting an application each week, just more and more ready to actually do a thing. Okay, I'm gonna go because I'm now just clocking over. So I'd only be an hour, but this stupid email isn't arriving. Why is it not sent to me? Oh, because it's .com. Oh, fuck's sake, it's the wrong email address. Okay, let's see how quickly this can arrive now. .co. I can't remember what the Sunday Club was, what the .com was, but that's annoying. Typical chasing a typo down. All right, so we will take a look at those local mail gems next week, and what we will do is actually fire these up. So in the console, then what we were doing was just firing order mailer. It's just arrived. Very first order confirmation that's totally fake. Order confirmed. Order confirmed. So this code here. This probably isn't how you're going to call it randomly. You're going to call it at the point where an order has been successful. And so what I think would be good to look at is how that works. So in a lot of learner content, you sort of see things like after save or after commit, something like this, confirmation email. And then there'll be a method like actually called that. And in here, you would actually have sort of this code, basically. Or you would, I can't remember the API for active job, but something like that, deliver later. And maybe there'll be a queuing system here or something like that, blah, blah, blah. But as you get more and more emails needing to be triggered, and as you start to want to change your order from other things other than confirmations, you might here put like something like a guard clause that would be like return unless confirmed or something like that, just so that you're like, oh, well, I only want this email to send when it's confirmed. And you end up with more and more guard clauses. You end up with lots of logic in here, trying not to get your model callback to actually send the email. So this is probably not, unless you're sort of really early in that stage of getting started and you just sort of want it to go every time. This is probably not the mechanism that you're going to use. So what are we going to do? How are we going to have emails send? And the answer to that is many options are available to us. And we can dive into that on next week's stream as well. So let's look at like how we would actually call this email rather than just doing a callback in the model. Cool. Okay. We got the confirmation, guys. We did it. Thanks a lot for checking out the stream. Gonna carry on with email stuff. Have wonderful weeks. If you're in the UK, good luck with the heat wave this week. I know for a lot of other countries, this wouldn't be considered a heat wave, but for us, it is. So see you all next Sunday at 10:30 if I don't see you before then. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.